Hi guys, I've been thinking I've done a lot of Warhammer stuff. Well, you know, not as much as the other big channels, the greats. And I usually do a lot of shit posts, like little Warhammer memes, did a big ass video on ranking them. But there's something I've not spoke about, and that's my favourite part of Warhammer, and that's the lore. Ooh. So I thought, might as well do one. Because, well, it's fun to talk about, because let's face it, we all love lore. And I considered the best possible place to start. Do I do it on my favourite Legion, the Death Guard? Do I do it on my favourite Primarch, Jagged Eye Chad? And then that got me thinking, my favourite bit of lore, you're going to listen to me ramble on about because you've not heard it enough, Primarch with some of my favourite lore, Angron. So please, sit back, relax, and get ready to listen to something you've heard about 1,000 times from 7 different people, maybe more. But first, a quick word from our sponsors. The sponsor today is a new thing that you've probably not heard of, and that's me. Me is across various different social medias that it would just be tickety-boo if you could go and follow and help me do that growth thing what everyone likes to talk about. Maybe when I tweet, call me a chubby bastard. Maybe when I load up on Instagram. Maybe kink shame it, I don't know. Just follow me on my socials, keeping up to date with stuff, and who knows, drop a suggestion on my next videos because I am not great at coming up with ideas for videos. If you can tell, I follow a very generic kind of jive. Anyway, guys, sit back, relax, enjoy.
I can hear the demons call when they do what they do, and now I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all, I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through.
Born to suffer. When the Big E showed his first signs of not being the #1 dad in the solar system, the big silly goose only went and lost his baby demigods. Following our boy Angron, he landed on a civilized world of Necrasa. This area? Necrasa? The sand place absolutely hell, just let's go with that. But don't let the fancy word of civilized fool you, it ain't, kiddo. See, when Angron was found by a local slaver, the wee ankle biter did just that. But instead of biting ankles, he was surrounded by a group of dead Xenos, who we would later know as the Eldar, who may or may not have foreseen the blood that would flow. Our sweet Angron, I just don't see it honestly. Anyhow, so our slaver takes Demigod baby to go get healed up and cared for, and once it's in tip-top shape, what do you think they do? Do they A, allow him to live a life of pleasure, B, let him grow up and be the world's best fighter, or C, turn him into a slave and fuck with his head? That's right, kids, it was option D, the hidden option. They dropped him in a pit full of fucking acid and make him kill other of potential slaves while climbing a ziggurat so that the acid doesn't turn his legs into nubs. Once at the top, the crowd cheers as our main boy was made into a gladiator slave and given the name Angron Falker. The Falker being his master's name. Lovely. During this time, Angron will get his own style of Undertaker undefeated streak, earning the name The Unbeaten Original. Over the time, Angron would gain something of a father figure in his fellow gladiator. Oh god. Onimus? We're just gonna call him Onimus. And you just know he's going to be a better father than Big E. Sadly, this is where tragedy number 2 comes into place. Nailing the Butcher. See, one of the High Lords fancied himself a little to the death contest, and who must should he choose but Angron and the closest thing he has to family, Onimus. Of course, Angron would decline, refusing to cross swords with the man. Sadly, the High Lord had a different plan. He ordered for Angron to go undergo surgery for the most constant thing in Angron's poor life, the Butcher's nails. See, the true heartbreaking thing here is the nails do one hell of a number on Angron. See, normally the nails would just make you feel a level of ecstasy during bloodshed and violence, but would quiet down slightly between battles. But due to Angron being literally built different, he would receive no rest. The nails would constantly scream at him, begging for bloodshed, even while resting. And the part that still hurts to hear is Angron was meant to be the caring one. See, all Primarchs have abilities that are unique to them, and our dear sweet Angron had the ability to feel but also ease the emotional pain of those around him. If this part seems a little less light-hearted and a little more emotional and dramatic and foreboding, it's due to this bit of lore sticking with me. Not all Primarchs had it easy, but they could at some point have rest and grow in their own way, the way they wanted. But Angron never got this. He was truly a slave, a demigod ripped from the sky. Sadly though, getting the nails was not the end of heartbreak. breaking the unbeaten. See, once the nails had a chance to really do a number on Angron's brain and make him the embodiment of roid rage, he was once again pitted against his father figure, Omnimus. But this time, the nails had the wheel, and Angron dismantled his surrogate father. Unshockingly, this broke him like he had never been broken before, and he howled, he cried, he whimpered for days. In a good way though, this was the straw that broke his back. Angron then decided he was tired of life being shit, and he raised a mighty revolt to get him and the boys out of there, retreating to the mountains. Now this is where Angron was kind of a cool bro about things. See, they had been camped in the mountain for a good few years, but due to constant attacks they could never really make a life for themselves, and food was becoming an issue. And Angron, seeing this, did what a normal geezer would do, and let his dearest and nearest drink his blood. Yummy, prime smoothie. But back to the sadness. The shit-licking High Lord decided that they were tired of Angron pushing the shit up, so they decided on one big final battle. Main event, if you will. But just before that should happen, guess who rolls up? That's right, MP baby, and he brought home the milk. Appearing right before Angron, he tried to hype him up with his own legion and Eldar Strange. But Angron, choosing ride or die as bro, said, "Nah dad, I'm good." This leaving Emps, the salty bitch that he is, to return to his ship. Now, right before the army of the High Lords get there, it happens. The Emperor teleports Angron up, leaving his brothers one demigod down. Angron, in shock and horror, is now seeing his family, his brothers, his friends slaughtered. And he goes on a mighty rage on that ship and kills one of the custodians. The only thing being able to stop him is the Emperor's sheer force of will. Angron, broken on the floor, looks up to his daddy with all the hacks and asks, "Why?" On which the Emperor replies, "Because I've got plans and your friends ain't invited." What a dick. Quick lore note here, I won't be covering Khan because Khan deserves his own shit, but I do want to bring up something rather horrific and sweet about Angron. In memory of his dead fallen brothers, after he had taken control of the Warhounds, now renamed to the World Eaters, fuck World Eaters sounds cool, he would implement a rule that a world should be taken over in 31 hours to represent the normal length of a day on the Crasser. The twist is, if they fail, 1 for every 10 Space Marines will be killed by his 9 brothers. I just think that's a neat little detail, honestly. The Night of the Wolf. This jumping forward a bit, and yes, skipping the bit about the butcher's nails being implanted in all of Angron's little legion, but that's more of a legion story and less an Angron one, so that's my reasoning. Where was I? Right. So, after all that, the Emps was getting a little ticked off with Angron and sent the Furry King after him, one Lehman Roos, prime daddy of the Space Wolves, to the planet of Malcroy to grab the big bastard and bring him back to answer for his long list of war crimes and search history. Upon Lehman and his wolves finding Angron and quickly kicking off, the two engaged each other for a proper scrap. And this is where it shows just how far Angron had slipped. See, the Wolf King was, while fighting him, leading him into a trap where Angron could be surrounded by Space Wolves, ready to fire. Obviously Angron, being him, said, "Fucking shoot, you furry scat." Lehman, seeing just how blood-driven Angron was, unable to understand that Lehman could have won and taken out the rest of the World Eaters, Lehman left, saddened by the decline of his brother. But of course Angron saw this as a win because he was still standing. Never backing down, blood being spilt, nails feeding on the violence, unaware of just how close the end had been for him and his legion. And then fucking Horus did his shit. Rizzed the fuck out of Angron, telling him, "Hey yo, Big Daddy, the Emps is a bitch." And damn, Angron was like, "Hey yo, this man's spitting." This will be the last 2 things that I cover, and the reason I have not covered everything is because I want you to go out and find the lore. Angron is a sad figure, but you also see he has these amazing moments that are just outstanding, and you see just how capable of a warrior he is, while still being broken. But let's end this with the events that changed it. The Red Angel. So, during the Horus Heresy, but more specifically during the Shadow Crusade, following the one that escaped Chris Hansen, the Megapedo himself, Lorgar, and our protagonist, I guess, Angron, on a little planet called Necrasa, were fucking around. The leader, Lord of Ultramar, Primarch of the Ultramarines, and current daddy of the Imperium, Robute Gilliman. Yes, I like Gilliman, I think he's cool, get off my back. And Angron got into a little bit of a scrap. Now, credit to Gilliman for surviving a fight with Angron. Notice I say surviving because he did not win. He was bailed out by his sons, the Ultramarines. But during this, the heresy baddies were being a group of tomfoolery fuckboys during the scrap, and Lorgar was rubbing one out to Khorne in a little Khorne night ritual. He did what I consider to be one of the coolest and saddest things in the setting. Using Angron's unbridled rage as a catalyst, he turned him into a demon Primarch. And my lore is a little fuzzy here, but I do believe he was the first one to become a demon Primarch. But that's beside the point. Not only sealing the path of the World Eaters to substitute for Khorne, but causing Angron to become a never-ending force of death. And that's what I find sad. The Red Demon. Now, apologies in advance, but this bit's going to get very articulate and pretentious at the same time. I apologise for this. See, in most fictions, such tragic characters would get a redemption arc or find a way to deal with their issues, or they would just be a pure villain and get what they deserve. But not Angron. As a demon, he can now never die. If he is destroyed, he comes back in a series of 8 weeks, 8 days, 8 hours, 8 seconds, 8 wanks. You get the drift. If you're not picking up what I'm putting down, allow me to get a little artsy for you. The tragedy of Angron, a character whose entire life has been hardships and unfair events, loss upon loss, pain and agony with no reprieve, consistent barrage of pain, will now never end. The nails became part of his life and they followed him into demonhood. The greatest gift Angron could have received would have been the sweet embrace of death and finally enjoy silence, a beautiful abstract of nothing, which he never got. As far as my knowledge goes, the only time I can think where he ever got a second of calm was during the Ark of Omens books, in which it says upon his death he felt a single moment of quiet, only for the rage and pain to return almost like that moment never happened. See, this is going to sound a bit bleak, but while writing this, all I can think is the second Angron became part of this universe, he was just designed to be miserable. And that's what makes it more heartbreaking. Like I said before, he was going to be the emotional healer, the beacon of light, but even his birthright was ripped away from him. Aside from a different life altogether, the greatest gift Angron could have ever received would have been to perish at a young age and avoid a life unfit for living. And sadly, all of those things is what makes Angron one of the most compelling Primarchs for me. All that pain, all that suffering, always consistent. Angron is still one of the scariest things in the 40k setting. All the pain he takes, he pushes it back out into the world. He is the equilibrium in the materium and the immaterium. Oh, that is just my take on the big red boy. I know I got a little artsy in that, a little debonair, but I generally feel Angron is one of the more interesting Primarchs. He's very, very blatant in what he is, but it's done well. It is done very well. He was one of the first Primarchs I found out about. He is one of the Primarchs that I've discussed at length with my friends, because we like to talk Primarchs. But yeah, if you can think of a more tragic story apart from Kurz, or if you can think of Angron lore that should have been on this list and I've blatantly insulted the big boy by forgetting, please let me know in the comments. But till next time, darling. Bye.
I can hear the demons call when they do what they do, and now I feel like taking off, find a place